I still believe if he didn't change the mouse's name to Mickey and kept him as Mortimer,
Apes would be controlling the planet.
but on March 13th, Vin Diesel's Bloodshot will hit theaters. Bloodshot comes from Valiant Comics. This guy used to work for Marvel, and he was nuts. Like, he was this, like, dictator. Like, if you're late, you're fired. If it's too many words, you're fired. If it's not enough words, you're fired. But apparently, like, while he was there, it was like their most successful run and like just most diligent process.
Who's this?
Right.
Dave Wilson?
No, I believe his name is Jim Shooter.
Pew, pew.
Shooter McGavin. He was the editor-in-chief of Marvel in the 80s. He actually wanted to buy Marvel, and he got like a bunch of investors from like Germany, and Marvel just kept turning him down. So he just created his own comic book company called Valiant Comics, and he wanted Valiant to be like this new age, we're going to redefine the landscape.
Lots of cutting edge, like lots of like sharp edges in the illustrations, probably. Like when they tried to do the Batman cartoon series, remember it was all like sleek and sharp. Was it like that kind of thing? Like they tried to be futuristic?
Yeah, it was like,
yeah, the big chins that could cut you in half.
Well,
ow, your elbow just killed me.
It was a touch of art change, but it was mostly his idea was to like look at what Marvel and DC are doing and do what they're not doing. He kind of started the anti-hero push. So The Dark Knight Returns came out in
06.
Right.
No,
so
it came out in 2010, right?
No, not the movie, because that movie was called The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh, 2000. Then the you're talking about the comic book?
Yeah, The Dark Knight Returns was like the first time Batman was like fucking jacked and like in darkness, and like it's rainy and he's gray and blue and there's no Robin and he's like a detective. That
86.
was like, whoa, there's no like super colorful Superman and Wonder Woman anymore. It's like this badass Batman who's a human.
It humanized it.
But before that, in 1971, Gwen Stacy, Spider-Man's first girlfriend, died. And that was the first time that like a hero lost and lost a loved one at the same time. So
yeah, it humanizes the experience.
This dude named Kevin Van Hook introduced the idea of Bloodshot to Jim Shooter. He's like, he's like a blend of like Punisher and Wolverine. He's got like healing ability. He's like this mobster. He falls in love with the mobster, the boss's daughter. Then he accidentally cheats on her. The boss tries to kill him. Angelo becomes an informant to the FBI for like safety. However, some of the FBI agents were on his boss's payroll, so instead of transporting him to a safe house, they sent him to Japan, where he becomes part of Project Rising Spirit. Project Rising Spirit is no different than Hydra and S.W.O.R.D. from Marvel, and they're trying to create super soldiers. Like they're trying to make this enhanced serum, and in this it's like a nanite infused blood called the blood of heroes.
That old Hollywood story of robotic blood, and over and over again. That's all you hear about.
Rehashed and redone. Yeah. It's just the same idea.
What was it called? Nanotech?
Nanotech. Nanotech infused blood. And nanotech is how Iron Man's suit just forms and then disappears.
They're microscopic robots technology that could like fuse together and do stuff. It's a real thing, not like on that level, but it's going to be a reality too. Not to derail, but nanotechnology with clinical trial stuff and bloodstreams and testing cures is already happening. Like in the next 10 years, you're going to see more and more about descriptions of like, this little vehicle we're going to inject in your arm is going to go and like wipe out all these cancer cells and stuff like that. It's pretty incredible. It's like the basis of the movie I Am Legend. Remember nanotechnology? They do it to cure cancer, but then it went wrong and it kept speeding up your cells till you like mutated.
Yes.
But it's like a real thing.
I know. We're like right there. It's like if we could just get the proper funding for research from the dopes in charge. All right, let's not get sidetracked.
Nanotech.
This character would get injected with the shit, and he woke up with amnesia. So like it worked, like he became like this Captain America, like jacked super soldier, but he didn't even know who he was. So they start like downloading false memories into his brain, and they'd be like, yo, this guy killed your wife. You got to go kill him. So he would go out and kill him, and then he'd come back and they'd wipe his memory again and load a new false memory in there, like, yo, this guy killed your brother. Go kill him. Eventually he breaks away and, does his own thing, and they send like half-ass versions of him out to like kill him, and he just takes them down as he's trying to like piece together who the F he is. So
sounds like RoboCop.
It's real yeah, like you don't know what reality is. Like it feels like this movie's going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for Vin Diesel to be in an intelligent movie because he's an entertaining actor. He's just been in movies where you're like, oh,
he
that's
is a good
impossible.
Actor. No, he gets typecast because he's like the tough guy that's like, I'm here to kick your ass the day I die. And he was in Saving Private Ryan. He was discovered by Steven Spielberg. Like he's a talented dude. That's how he got his career. Steven Spielberg saw him in something and was like, he's a great actor. Let's put him in Saving Private Ryan. And that's like what kind of launched his career. But is it not unlike RoboCop? How RoboCop they keep resetting like his timeline, and they send him out like let's tweak him, make him more violent, and let's do that. Is it kind of like that? Not the storyline, but like
I don't know if they can like tweak him or anything, but they just make him angrier, or they just keep putting in like fake memories that make him go on a killing streak.
Wow.
And like the whole time he's like, oh wait, like what's real? Like you don't know what's real. He doesn't know what's real. Like the comic story is pretty
sounds
insane.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds crazy.
Then in the supply demand flop of comics in the late 90s, mid to late 90s, when a whole bunch of people were collecting them in hopes that in like a couple of years they'd become really valuable, like baseball cards.
Yeah, I was going to say like baseball cards.
And the comic book industry like noticed that, so they started just like pumping out crap, like not quality, quantity.
Yeah.
And
Archie.
And the industry suffered. These guys were like in deep shit. He had like no money to save him. I think Ike Perlmutter came in and bought Marvel, and Acclaim Entertainment bought Valiant Comics. They used to make WWF video games.
Yes, I was going to say they're the video game company.
Yes. In the summer of 2012, Valiant did something coinciding with DC's New 52 and Marvel's Marvel Now. They reintroduced Bloodshot. His name was Angelo Martelli, but his real name was Raymond Garrison. So he was a soldier roped into the PRS, Project Rising Spirit, where they wanted to brainwash super soldiers, a.k.a. Bucky Barnes. Captain America is the super soldier, but he's good. They don't like fuck with his brain. Russia
can't fuck with him.
Russia creates a super soldier, but also brainwashes him to follow command based on like 9 key words, who happen to be Captain America's like boyhood friend.
I think the 9 key words should be like vodka, Trotsky, breadline, and they're like, wow, you're really being stereotypical here. The communist.
Dude, look up the words Bucky brainwash.
I can't Longing, remember. Rusted, 17,
Longing, Rusted,
Daybreak, Furnace, Benign, Homecoming, and Freight Car.
Freight Car.
And I love in the search results, they give you the Russian spelling right next to it.
Because he says it in Russian in the movie, and they give you the English translation.
Who was the actor that played him in Winter Soldier? He's a good-looking dude.
There's talk of him playing a younger Luke Skywalker, because he looks just like Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. If you look at him, he's got the blue eyes.
He could totally pull that off.
Yeah, he's just got to shave his black beard.
By the way, not to derail us, the planet, what is it, Tatooine?
Tatooine, yes.
Tatooine is still standing in the Moroccan desert. You need to do a comic John there before the sand is starting to take over. Like it's starting to build up. It's going to go under, but it's still there from 1977 when they built it. or 76 when they actually build it. It's still the Moroccan desert. It's off the beaten path, so it's not like destroyed. And they reused it when they went back for Phantom Menace. It was all still standing and in actually pretty good condition because it's so far away from like the next city that like people are going there. It's just a tourist spot. That's all I'm gonna say. I mean, Dorels.
Oh no, I gotta go. In Morocco, I've always wanted to go to Africa.
Yeah.
Africa, right? He's got enhanced speed and agility and healing, like, Wolverine, but nothing about his life seems real. There's a scene in the trailer where he goes, "I'm going to avenge my wife," but that could just be a fake thing and he could never have had a wife. Like you're trying to figure out what's real just like he is. It feels like a lot to smash into a movie and culminating with none of it's real. All of these lives he's had, none of them are real.
It's like a thinking man's movie.
Now he's going to take out those who made him think they were real. So
cool.
With the success of Venom, the success of Joker, it's a rising trend of villains and anti-heroes. Thanos is like so developed in those two movies as a villain, like way more than anyone. So it's an interesting time. But I believe it's mainly just because superheroes fight the bad guy and win. Without an interesting villain, you're boring.
Look at Joker 1989 versus 2019. I mean,
the development of the bad guys, it's not as a sign of our times, but it's the evolution of storytelling in the superhero world, like what we were just talking about when Jack Kirby drew Batman totally different and told a totally different style of story. This is the next step after that. It's like, no,
yes.
the villains are the main characters now. Even Morbius is getting a movie, and that will come out. Well, we'll get to that in just a second. But after Bloodshot, we're back in this weird space in the film world, the superhero film world, where basically everything other than Sony is owned by Marvel. Because Disney bought Fox, so now everybody from the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, Deadpool, everybody that they were missing is now
the mouse house
under one mouse-eared house. And everyone's trying to predict when's this guy going to show up, when's that guy going to, whatever. But then all of a sudden, after years of like, yeah, we're going to do it. Nah, never mind, we're not. No, it's going to happen. Never mind. And then all of a sudden, a trailer drops of New Mutants, and it stars Maisie Williams from like 5 years ago, like mid Game of Thrones. Like she looks like a little kid in the trailers. It's weird, but they finally have an April 3rd release date. I am really excited about this movie because of the villains yet again that are in it. There's something called like a Soul Sword. I think that's what it is, Soul Sword, and I don't know what the hell that is. I don't know a lot about the X-Men. Like I've seen them all, but I didn't read a lot about them. So I don't know much about their lore.
Going back to what you said about the villains and how like the villains are the main thing now, it would be unsustainable in the past like 20 years to keep making the same movies the way they did in like 2002 or 2003. You kind of root for the villains at some point. They're more relatable. It would be like silly. It would be like showing like 1960s Penguin today if they didn't do that. But you're making them more relatable, which in turn, I think, makes them scarier and more believable because you're like, wow, that happened to me, but I never wanted to like wipe out a school or a hospital or something like that. It's the evolution, I think, in my opinion, I'm not as traversed as you, is on par with the storylines of the films. They're making them, coexist well. They're not, they age very nicely, I guess is the way to put it.
I would venture to say pop culture started this heavy anti-hero push. It was the most propelling force to get this underway. I'll list many examples that followed, but the one and only man from New Jersey, Tony Soprano, was really the big, super popular anti-hero that, at times he was fucking frightening.
No, that is so true.
And then House followed. The doctor who was like a fucking and then Jack Bauer even. He was constantly breaking the law, but it was like you were rooting for him.
And then Jack Bauer in 24. No.
But then, I mean, Heisenberg, Walter White from Breaking Bad, you
Oh
know,
yeah,
even Nancy Botwin from Weeds. I mean, she was a drug dealer, but you loved her.
yeah.
Dexter, guy Ray Donovan, he's a fucking hitman.
You're so right too. What you said is so true. Tony Soprano's the first. He controlled this big mafia family, and every film up until 1999 was like, it's order and honor. He's gonna kill you, but then it's like I have
Cops.
problems. They're breaking all the molds that, cinema and storytelling put down, and they change the game. And
And
then
make you like just think more about like yourself, because you're like, oh my gosh, like he's so fucked up, but he's trying to get help, but he's breaking the law. He's a mob boss. He murders people, but
but
he's
he goes
going
home at the end of the day.
right. And then he takes his daughter to college, to visit colleges. And it was genius. And
It's genius.
that's why I
It
don't think
is.
it's not that he was the first, but he was like just such
It was the
a
most popular.
shift. Like it was just like a giant chunk broke off, and now it's like behind this wall is like this cool idea where we make the main character a criminal.
Right. Yeah, and it works. It works so well. It also adds to their dark traits too, because you're like, wow, they can still like go home for dinner and talk about, the kids screwing up at school, but then they're gonna like whack somebody the next day. Like, how can you balance those two in a normal life? Like it adds to the depth of like their insanity and stuff. It's amazing.
one of the most
Blew my dick.
one of the most successful spin-off TV shows of all time, currently in its fifth season, is the criminal lawyer that the criminals in Breaking Bad hire, Saul
It's amazing.
Goodman. Better Call Saul is huge, and it wins all these awards.
It's amazing. And usually in the past too, spin-offs were like just good for the fans of the original. They kind of fizzled out, like for the most part, for TV at least. But
Yeah,
Better Call Saul is cleaning up, and
dude,
it's just going to keep going.
I
That
would
universe is going to keep going forever.
I know, and they said in this season you see a lot more familiar faces, but in the last season it's going to cross over Breaking Bad and bring you to like the present, like today.
Oh
I
shit!
I know Odenkirk talked a lot about it on Jimmy Kimmel. It was weird. He got into like detail.
Oh yeah, yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
Yeah,
he broke it.
I
He broke it down.
it's not that it's better than Breaking Bad, but you can tell that
Yeah.
David Gilligan just has more experience because it is so like flawless almost.
Yeah, and it's impossible to say. Well, it's not as good as Breaking Bad. Nothing will be as good as Breaking Bad.
No, it
Sopranos is the only thing better than Breaking Bad,
um
and
yeah,
that's
better
arguable. I
Better
mean,
Call Saul has nothing that would ever make it better than Breaking Bad because they don't have anything better than Heisenberg. They don't have anything better than Walter White and
no, it won't
sit
happen.
there for right.
You could do a Sopranos spinoff that's great, and it would never be as good as Tony Soprano. You could do a Sons of Anarchy spinoff that's terrible because Sons of Anarchy was terrible. The Mayans. Nobody watches that shit.
No.
That was canceled, right?
I think so, yeah, after 2 seasons, I think. I started watching What We Do in the Shadows. Dude,
How is it?
it's this like spoof vampire, Count Dracula
Oh yeah. Jen
by
watches that.
by Taika Waititi. It's like goofy, but it's not good enough for the limited time I have.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Not worth the time investment.
I'm on the Toy Story 4 marathon right now. Hannah is obsessed with
So
4.
good. I just watched it. I love those movies, dude.
I know. I respect how they take 10 years between each one or whatever the duration
Yeah.
is.
And they're so smart too. There's so many Easter eggs that
Oh,
it's like a library.
you can watch it over and over and over, and you feel like you're watching parts that you didn't see the time before.
Yeah, you're picking up. It's like watching Back to the Future in a way where you like, if you watch it enough, you pick up different things. You're like, oh yeah. Not to bring up Sons of Anarchy for the fourth time, but Kurt Sutter was fired from Disney as a showrunner from the Mayans after Disney acquired the rights because
Right.
they weren't going his direction or whatever. Who knows? So then he tweeted out, "I'm going to do my own show. Hint: it involves Harleys." And I just wanted to be like, you need to stop with the Harley thing. It's a very niche market. Who still thinks this is like a great idea? Like superheroes. Okay, you could go a million different ways, and if it's good, it's gonna hit.
Right.
Like sports films are on the up and up right now.
Right.
Ben Affleck's coming out with one. There's like 5 coming
Oh,
out
that
this
looks
year.
good.
Looks great. But the Harley thing, it's like I'm doing my own with Harleys, and it's like it's a very niche market. It's
It's
not
like,
doing well.
do you really want your legacy to be?
Did you see the trailer for the Ben Affleck movie though?
Yeah,
Looks great.
and I respect him. Like he's fame swooped him up and threw him around and spun him around on its finger and body slammed him, and he
Boston
knows
crab.
he knows that he fucked up. Campbell Clutch even. And he's, and this movie I think is super like, I think he's doing like the therapeutic thing, like, almost like
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. playing Tony Stark. Like, I can control myself.
Yeah, he's doing his thing. It's
Yeah.
like a therapy session. It's like an exercise for him.
Yeah.
It's true.
I want to see it.
I'm really
But
excited. Yeah. Go on, I'm sorry.
after New Mutants on April 3rd, we wait only a month's time to May 1st, Black Widow, the second female-led solo movie from the MCU after Captain Marvel, set between Captain America Civil War and Avengers Infinity War. Will have ramifications primarily in the Falcon and Winter Soldier Disney Plus show that we'll get to in a bit, but will also affect the movies from the past that will cause us all to go back and rewatch and enjoy in a different way. I don't think they're just going to pop out a standalone Black Widow movie without it having a lot of tentacles connecting to what else is going on. I think the villain from it is going to show up again, Taskmaster. I don't know if you saw the trailer,
Yeah.
but if he, I think, either fights or like sees a fighter, he can like within seconds like mimic everything they can do. In the trailer, he like steps on the shield and picks it up just like Cap.
Yeah, I think they're
So,
gonna paint a very vivid backstory with
yeah.
segues of explanations, like a cut from the past to the present kind of thing with that. Just to
Yes.
paint a very vivid picture.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
And
That
I
comes out
think
in May, right?
David Harbour's character is in the movie. He plays the Red Guardian. He's basically the other Russian version of Captain America who wasn't like brainwashed. He is rumored, spoilers, this is a possible spoiler. Somebody dumped this on my channel like a month or two ago, stating that his character dies. And I said, no way. I think he's going to have his own thing. I think he's going to join the Avengers because the actor is so good. They are going to write something for that actor because he's so hot right now.
He's so hot.
Especially with the Stranger Things 4 trailer. It's just him.
Loved it. Yeah, it's just him working on a railroad. He's
Bald.
great. Yeah, he's so hot right now. It's funny too because he's like an older guy that was a supporting actor and like a far-reaching supporting actor before. Like he was in like a lot of good movies like Parkland and stuff, but he was always but then he came out of nowhere and he owns it and he kills it. He's such a good actor. Parkland is the one with Tom Hanks produced it. It's with Paul Giamatti. It's about the Kennedy assassination and the hospital that treated him. Like I can't believe I'm saying this. Zac Efron's in it. He's like brilliant in it. It's such a great film. It was like an art house film. It was a independent, released in like 30 screens kind of thing. Didn't make money. Like one of those passion projects. It's one of the best movies ever. It's so accurate. It's about the Zapruder tapes that filmed the Kennedy assassination. The guy that actually shot the video you see, the only video of Kennedy getting shot. It's about him.
Right.
Billy
the one
Bob
where
Thornton.
You can like see his head coming off and his wife grabbing it and trying to put it back on as if it was like his hat.
It's such a powerful film, but it's amazing. But yeah, but he's in that. He plays Ron Livingston's in it. David Harbour plays the FBI chief, but he's such a good actor, and yeah, he's so hot right now. Both cinematically and sexually. It's a great choice, though. Yeah, I'm excited for that one. I don't go out to the movies a lot, but I'll probably go see that one with the wife.
Oh, man. Scarlett Johansson, she should have won an Oscar. She was nominated twice, but the woman who won, I don't remember, but I know she deserved it. They were all good. But
Yeah.
she is so badass as Black Widow, and I mean, you know, that
She's
suit
great.
that suit is basically painted on her, and she's got a whole bunch of different costumes in this one, and she looks
Oh,
killer in all of them. So I can't wait.
she's
And I
awesome.
and I think her co-stars, like her other squad that she's with, I think one of them's gonna continue on. I'm hoping for two, but one of them's gonna be a snake, a rat, a mole.
Yes.
So keep an eye
Yeah,
out for
hiding
that.
in the shadows. It's a
Those
good
are just my
prediction.
predictions.
That's a good prediction.
After Black Widow, May 1st, we only wait another month till June 4th, Wonder Woman 1984.
Gal Gadot.
So Wonder Woman was set in the World War One or two, I can't remember, but yeah, the Great War, World War One,
Yeah.
and so they jump ahead in time, set in 1984. She obviously looks the same because she's an Amazon. She lives forever.
Amazonian princess.
Steve Trevor. There's Chris Pine and Chris
Evans.
Evans, and they are Steve Rogers and Steve Trevor. Chris Pine died in Wonder Woman 1, and there's also Scarlett Johansson who plays Black Widow, and Elizabeth Olsen who plays Scarlet Witch. It's it's almost like Dan Rather. Remember that in Wayne's World? What does he say? No, Bob York, King York.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Yeah, the Dick York and Dick Sargent.
Sergeant York.
It blew my mind. I thought the same. I didn't think the same exact thought, but it was in the same universe. Like Chris Evans, Chris Pine, both playing these characters, and then they're in the same thing. It's amazing.
Scarlet Witch, Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow,
Dick York, Dick Sargent, Sergeant York.
Then there's like another thing. There's like Heather was like, "Wait, who's Black Widow? What does she play? What's Scarlett Johansson's name?" It's Natasha Romanoff and Wanda Maximoff.
It would be like the Samantha from the show Bewitched meeting the chick from I Dream of Jeannie and coming in the same, because they were both around the same time, involving like women that can do special things. It would be like that kind of crossover.
And then Alice from Brady Bunch. What?
And she comes in and goes, "Sam's giving me meat. By meat, I mean head. Whoa, Alice. Big things come in small packages."
And then in July, all the way at the end of July, so a big, huge summer-long wait, July 31st, the human vampire, the living vampire, Morbius. This movie has more hype than I have ever seen in a while, created simply by the trailer.
It's because the dreamy Jared Leto's in it. He's dreamy.
Well,
those piercing eyes.
Not only is the trailer pretty sweet, and how he explains his powers when he's like, I can phase, I have echolocation, and I have increased strength, obviously. But
yeah,
what made everyone go crazy and got the most views I've ever had on one of my videos reacting to the trailer is at the end. Right before the end, they show Jared Leto walking down the street, and spray painted on the wall is a spray painting of Spider-Man. And spray painted on top of that is the word murderer, which coincides with the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, when J. Jonah Jameson and Mysterio out Spider-Man. They tell the world his name is Peter Parker, and they alter tape and footage to make him look like a murderer.
But I saw the trailer with murderer on there, though. There's so many implications in that. It's a really cool shot. Really
the very, very end of the trailer. Giving up on all that superhero stuff, huh? What's up, Doc? And they show you from Spider-Man Homecoming, in the same outfit he was wearing at the end credit scene, the Vulture from the Spider-Man movie, played by Michael fucking Keaton, tying Morbius into the MCU, and now the possibilities are endless.
They're endless, and they have to like explore this territory and divulge on this ground.
And the formation of the Sinister Six continues because Scorpion was in the jail. He came up to the Vulture and was like, "Yo, I know some people that want to kill Spider-Man." And now Morbius, who is a villain in the comics, he is in that same world, and Vulture's in it. So 2 months later, we have a 2-month gap. The end of summer, beginning of fall gap. Venom 2. Woody Harrelson as Carnage, who is like a super powered symbiote, like a Venom but crazy.
Yeah.
And Tom Holland has been rumored as Spider-Man to be in the movie as well. I loved Venom 1. It made 800 million.
It tore it up, and the new one has. Do you know who the director is of the new one? Andy Serkis is directing it, which will be really interesting because talk about an evolution.
I know.
Of a guy that just used to do CGI stunts to becoming. He's like on the forefront of a lot of this stuff. It's amazing.
And
Tom Hardy's always good.
He is the master of CGI on a person. You know, like he was Schmeagol. He who else? I mean, he's like everyone. Like I don't have it off the top
like
of my head
Planet
right
of the Apes, King Kong. He wrote the book on CGI. Caesar. No.
And he even played Ulysses Claw.
Yes.
In Black Panther and in Guardians.
They're gonna keep pushing the envelope of what they're gonna do in this. You know, you're talking about Morbius. The expanded universe. There's so many possibilities that they can cross over with and that they can explore that there's really no there's no shortage of shit that they can pull off. It's going to be really incredible. There's no short game is what I'm trying to say. It's all like a bigger picture that's just needs to be explored.
I feel like it's going to create the Sinister Six as like Suicide Squad should have done, you know, with separate movies, and they're all going to have to take on Carnage, and Spider-Man's going to help them. That's just my loose guess. Who knows how it'll all go down?
John knows.
And after October, we go right into November with the Eternals. The Eternals are kind of unknown, but like super important characters in the Marvel world. They've been around for like 15,000 years. They were created by the Celestials, these like godlike characters. The big news with this movie is that it's obviously part of the MCU, but it includes a cast that's like insane. And I wonder what kind of contracts they've signed. Selma Hayek, Angelina Jolie, Kumail Nanjiani, Richard Madden, and from Game of Thrones, Kit Harington, who's not an Eternal, but he'll be the character, the Black Knight, who's in the movie.
The fact that they got Angelina Jolie and Salma Hayek.
I know.
Two of the hottest women in the world. Whatever your opinions are on Angelina Jolie, she's still one of the hottest women in the world.
Oh, yeah. And a great actress. Well, in some movies, she's good.
Yeah, right. The fact they got those two on screen and Kit Harington and who was the other person you said?
Jon Snow and Robb Stark. Richard Madden.
I would bet it's like a limited contract where they're like, yeah, we're going to be a part of something huge. It's going to have multiple sequels let's just like, get on board. Like Angelina Jolie's kind of cold right now, just because she's had so much shit going on in her life.
Right. The big
like she doesn't really do like a lot of movies anymore. I think this is going to be like her return back to like the forefront because like 15 years ago, she was the highest paid actress on the planet. She could ask for anything she wanted; they would give it to her. And she's cooled off because like stuff happens, but I think this is going to be like her way back in. I'm really curious about this one.
Yeah, I guess she was like a mother for a while and like very active in like spreading her money around in a good way. It seemed.
She said she did a third of every film. She didn't say it. I mean, she did. She did a third of her paycheck of all the money she made from acting. Whatever project to charity, which is like more than most people do. It's pretty cool.
I think if I was making $20 million a film, I'd give half of it to ADD awareness. So
and we forget to cash the check. You still have it. They'd be like, we're gonna cash these donations. Hey, Macarena.
Now, winded between before Venom actually, and actually. Okay, so in September, so Venom's in October, but in September, Disney Plus will roll out Falcon and Winter Soldier, who are Captain America's two best friends, who are, Cap hands over the shield to Sam, to Falcon, and is like, try it on, see if you want to be the new Cap. And Thunderbolt Ross is like, well, yeah, you can have the shield, but you got to take the super soldier serum. And Sam's like, no, I haven't used that. And that's my guess. That's just like what my guess this show is going to be about. The government wanting to like jack him up and pump him full of that gunk. And he's like, no. So then they're going to make a new Cap, who's this character named U.S. Agent. And Baron Zemo. What does he say? Mission report, December 16, 1991. He says that 100 times in Captain America Winter Soldier, or Civil War. And he's the villain in that. He's coming back. And it's also going to start the Thunderbolts, a group of bad guys, including the Red Hulk, because Thunderbolt Ross is the Red Hulk.
Thunderbolts.
My guess, he tries to pump himself with that super soldier serum, and it's in like a gamma ray container, like, ooh. So he turns into like the Incredible Hulk, but he like emits heat or something.
And that's going to launch that. That's going to like bring that into the forefront. Is what your prediction is. That's a good one. John knows. That's why you're the comic John. No one knows better.
And then, also in November, WandaVision. WandaVision. If you've seen the trailer for this, it's like a 15-second trailer for Disney Plus's Marvel shows. There's like this shot where it's like, psh, 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 and it shows her in like the Brady Bunch, in Roseanne, in another show, like real quick. And she's like, what the hell?
Good analogy. I did see it because of you. I get all my like comic news from you. You talked about that, and that's it. That great analogy.
It's gonna be such a cool show because Wanda's super depressed, so she's imagining this world, but she doesn't have control over her insane ability yet, and she accidentally like creates this pretend world that she thinks she's living in, and it splits a hole in this the space-time continuum reality, and opens up a hole into the multiverse, and everything just goes insane, and that will lead Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. It's not gonna like directly connect, but you'll know what's going on. Like it'll probably be a lot of like in the past and leading up to present, and then the multiverse from Wanda will filter right into that because they're all in the same universe. And then the Loki Disney Plus show will come out. Loki's got the Space Stone from Avengers Endgame in 2012 when they traveled back in time. He picked it up because they all fucked up, and he's jumping all around. And there's these theories that he's also jumping around through time. So I don't know how that happens unless somehow he uses the Space Stone in 2012 to jump to Doctor Strange's boss. I forget her name. And he steals it, and then he has the Time Stone and the Space Stone. And that would be insane because that will lead right into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness on May 7th, 2021. And that will conclude the multiverse arc. Following May 7th will be July 3rd, Spider-Man 3. The subtitle has not been made. It will be the penultimate Phase 4 movie, blending back into more Morbius and Venom. So I think it'll start off with like the ramifications of the multiverse of madness and then set up more Sony stuff. I think that's like what their movies are going to be like. November 5th, Thor, Love and Thunder. Will this be the end of Thor? It's his fourth standalone movie, which nobody has.
Yeah, it is 4.
Purely because of Hemsworth, Taika, and their genes.
I don't think it'll be the last one.
I hope not. I think he said with this reinvention of the character, they're going to make a couple more, cutting his hair off, making him fat, like just changing him up from the boring long hair.
They're going to switch it up. What is the timeline you think before they reboot Thor? Let's say it's his last one. Could you imagine a Thor without Hemsworth? There's not a better looking man on the planet that's more like cut. Like
there's not a better looking man on the planet who's that funny. Like
he's great.
He can deliver funny
Son
lines.
of a bitch.
Son of Odin. Surtur. Son of a bitch. But then he's like, in the very beginning, he's like, I know what you're thinking. Oh no, Thor's in a cage. Well,
Right.
sometimes you have to get caught in order to get a straight answer out of somebody. And then he's like,
True.
it like opens and he swings down and he's hanging from the chain like with his arms and it wrapped around his waist,
So
and he's
good.
like laying sideways, and he's talking, but he's also spinning. He's like, I'm not even doing this. It's just doing it on its own. I'm sorry. Just
Right.
give me a minute. Give me a minute.
It's great. Yeah, it's great because they downplay like theatrical like cheesiness.
They
that
make
could
fun
really...
of it.
Yeah, right. It works.
That whole like from whence it came. They like mock it in the opening like 10 minutes, and Matt Damon is, has a cameo, and they're like retelling Thor 1 or 2.
Right. It's so great. It works very well.
That's Taika for you.
Yeah.
Watiti. So that will do it for 2020-2021 comic book movie preview. Kabaracha. Thanks for watching. Bye. I love you. Peace. Oh, hey. Make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment and hit the notification bell. And if you're finding me for the first time, I do trailer reaction videos, hot take movie reviews, news briefs on anything Marvel, DC, Star Wars. You'll love it. Thanks.
Discuss this because you know more about it than I, but I'm really curious about the King's Man. What is that?
Oh my gosh, I said I don't know what that is either, but I believe it's the King's Men. I thought I saw familiar faces, but I've never seen that movie, so I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. I didn't know it was a comic book movie. If it is, it's not Marvel or DC. At least I hope not, because then I'm a bit of a fraud.
It's not. But the bookshop from Kingsman was in a shot, so I was like, oh, it's probably a sequel, but it doesn't. You don't really like know that off the bat.
Or maybe kind of a prequel.
Maybe a prequel. I think it might be a prequel.
Instead
like
of like
Man.
Right, like the first one.
That's probably what it. Yeah, because it's World War I, so that's probably what it is.
Oh,
that's what it is.
Duh.
That's right, because those planes, they had like the old like Red Baron planes in the trailer.
Look at us. Now I'm kind of excited. Now I'm interested to go see the original, because when does Kingsman come out? Is it March or April? Do you have that in front of you? I may.
I do.
But I skipped over it. I didn't know anything about it. I'm not really excited about it. But if it's a prequel set in World War I and it's about the original King's Man, I might be a little more excitado.
We missed that bomb, John, because it was released on Valentine's Day.